Folks, how's everybody doing today? Rudy, Alpha Investments. Today, I want to have a conversation about the state of everything right now. What my perspective is, what my opinion is on the overall state of what I see going on in the collectible world and as kind of the world as a whole. So this is probably going to be a little bit longer than a 10-minute video, but I wanted to really just kind of take a moment and discuss this stuff with you all. So first, we're going to start with the most obvious, which will be Magic. After that, we'll kind of dab over into the old Pokemon conversation. And then I want to talk about a lot of these new startup, new card games I'm being approached with. And then, of course, I want to actually mention like Force of Will, Flesh and Blood, the Digimon, and the Dragon Ball Super stuff. So I wanted to kind of go into that. So it'll be a little bit of a longer video. So sit back, relax, everybody. So usually I don't do longer videos standing, but, I figured, why not today? I'm just kind of in that kind of playful little mood, ladies and gentlemen. So first, let's talk about Magic. Timespiral Remastered just came out. There's definitely a big shift in behavior on what Wizards is doing with the supply. We started to notice that with Commander Legends, but I didn't think too much of it. Similar to Kaldheim, I started seeing a similar shift in behavior when it comes to different type of products and the product lines and how they're trying to sell these products. And I think I've kind of cracked the code, in my opinion, on what my perspective is on what Hasbro and is what's coming here. There's been a lot of conversation about Hasbro wanting to have double-digit, massive, double the sales and revenue of Wizards of the Coast in the next 5 years type thing. Really insane stuff, And everyone's been saying, oh my goodness, they want to have more money and more revenue. Well, there's only a couple ways to increase the amount of revenue that Papa Hasbro can get from Wizards of the Coast. And obviously that's by making more products and selling more units of product, or of course raising the price per product to try to capture a larger, chunk of revenue per item sold. And then actually there's a third way, which is actually what I realized the other day is what I think is actually what they're doing. Because there's been a lot of conversation about that. Everybody's been saying, how, Rudy, I don't get it. How can Wizards and Hasbro continue to smash revenue and keep going to the moon type thing? And, we've all been saying, how can they make more products? We've already got new releases every month and a million secret layers and supplemental products. And, how can we do, look at back in the day, War of the Spark came out. By the way, $160 a box for War of the Spark. Holy smokes. A little quick, folks. Calm down. That's way too fast. Holy smokes, $160 for War is insane. But think about it. You wanted War of the Spark in the past. You bought a booster box. Now, when Kaldheim comes out, or this new Strixhaven, you have set boxes, booster boxes, collector boxes, commander deck sets. You have 4 products that release at the same time versus, hey, War of the Spark is out. We got 1 new box. The sheer volume of product was originally what I expected to show that increase of revenue, factored in with higher quantities of secret layers. And of course, secret layers, instead of being $29.99 and $39.99, being $50 and above moving forward, with more ultimate editions being, $80, $100, $200, $300, $400 a secret layer. That's kind of my perspective, what I thought. There's the amount of secret layers and variants they can come up with is simply endless. I'm waiting for the Pikachu secret layer, and of course the Rick and Morty secret layer, and of course the Simpsons secret layer, and I'm going to swing with my Bart Simpson, you're going to defend with your Pikachu, and that's kind of the Cabbage Patch Dolls and the Pogs and the Beanie Babies, and I'm going to defend with Princess Diana over here, and then I'm going to counter-strike with my Nintendo as we hit Rule of Rose down there with the taco envelope. You see what I'm saying? There's not really any limitation of what they can do with that stuff, but I wanted to give you guys actually what I feel the real thing coming is. I don't think they're actually going to increase secret layers any further than they already have. I think they've already found their rhythm. I don't think they're going to make more products than they already are now because they can't physically keep up with it, the printers. Then I realized this whole thing with Hasbro, it's about Amazon. Because the biggest tip and hint that Papa Hasbro gave all of us that we didn't focus enough on was the direct-to-consumer thing. Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro are in a transitionary period right now where I genuinely believe that they want to shift up to almost half the business away from LGSs, and they kind of want the LGS model to become extinct. I still stand by that. I don't agree with it, but I believe that's what they believe. Does that make sense, everyone? I believe, similar to how other card games believe, I believe the LGS network of thousands of stores across the country, whether you're a WPN tournament store or you're just a hobby store that stores things, sells things, meet with collections like what I do. You know, I don't host tournaments. I don't report results to WPN. I don't engage in that. But I believe the importance of comic book stores and hobby stores around the world does carry value. I do believe that. Do I think it's a profitable, big, successful, good life for an average person who wants to start that in 2021? Absolutely not. I would highly recommend against it, unless you're going to do a social media presence or you're going to have some sort of special angle with maybe people want to do restaurants or bar. Wait, you can't even have people in the restaurant. Okay. You know, post 2020, it's a very complicated thing. So what I've realized fully, which we started to get rumors with the Commander Legends collector boxes, was Hasbro is going to be shifting all future restocks in multiple waves. Jumpstart, Commander Legends, collector boxes, and Kaldheim collector boxes, and I think it's all going to be going to Amazon. And let me paint you all a picture here. Commander Legends collector boxes. Okay? Wizards, let's make up some numbers here. These are all artificial numbers. None of this is authentic. Don't hold me to it. Wizards sells a collector box to a distributor by the pallet, and the distributor pays Wizards of the Coast $140 for a collector box. The collector box is then sold to stores $170. Let's just make even numbers. Remember, all these numbers are made up. So at $170 for Commander Legends collector box, the store then sells it for $250, and they net $220. So the store ends up making from $220 to $170. Let's say they make $50 on a product, which some people are going, "Oh my God, that's crazy profit." Other people are going, You know, so essentially $50 profit on a $200 thing is, you're going to be around what, 25, 35% profit margin, which is good. It's decent. That's where it should be for any retail business model, due to the massive amount of overhead, loss, you know, theft, fraud, disputes, shipping costs, return. You got to deal with all the intangibles. So you don't really make 50, you gross 50. It doesn't flow to the bottom line. But so, let's step back again. I firmly believe at this point in time, Wizards of the Coast has officially made the decision that moving forward, all Magic restocks and second waves, including Timespiral Remastered and Commander Legends collector boxes, will be funneled directly by the pallet, by the truckload, to Amazon fulfillment, so that the bulk of the higher percentage of revenue goes direct to Wizards of the Coast and flows through Papa Hasbro. So essentially what this is going to do is they've calculated a way for their accountants to essentially come up with a way to increase margins substantially without changing anything else in the marketplace. They're essentially pulling it from the distribution model in the 3,000 LGSs around the United States. They figured out a way to shift and kind of just move things around without changing the actual cards and printing of Magic the Gathering. The first sign of evidence this has been showing, kind of rearing its head, was Jumpstart in the last couple months. Stores have no Jumpstart. I have 2 cases of Jumpstart reserved for future box openings. That's it, 12 boxes. Where's all the Jumpstart? And then Amazon randomly every month is getting waves of Jumpstart. Then we saw the biggest piece of evidence recently in the last 2 to 3 weeks, Commander Legends collector boxes. Not a single store around the country can get a single box of it, including myself. I got 1 case for future box openings, just put aside. There's, you know, in the past, whether it's Kaldheim or Zendikar, Throne, Theros. Well, actually, Throne was pretty tight, but that was the first time everybody went crazy. So let's redo the numbers. Wizards makes a product, the collector box, Commander Legends. Commander Legends collector box, instead of Wizards selling that box to a distributor and getting $140 per unit, they are now sending the pallet to Amazon, and Amazon is selling directly for what, $200, $250? I heard all kinds of numbers. Let's just say $200. So now Amazon, or let's say they net $180 or $190. I'm sure they have a special agreement with different fee structure with Amazon fulfillment. So let's pretend Wizards is netting $180. Well, netting $180 per Commander Legends collector box versus $140 from a distributor is a massive, massive difference, ladies and gentlemen. It is a substantial swing in data, and when you scale that to millions of items and dollars, it is massive, everybody. It is flipping insane. if they're able to net 180, 190 for a Commander Legends collector box versus the 140 from a distributor, they're netting an additional $40 per box. If they dump 10,000 boxes to Amazon, $40, $50 a box times 10,000. Do the math, folks. It's massive. You're approaching almost $500,000 additional revenue. And that revenue, there's no cost of goods sold. It is a straight profit increase by adjusting your margins and changing your distribution logistics. This is a big deal. Some people in the financial world always can call that continuous improvement, Kaizen, all these fancy terms, and in the business school, corporate world. But let me just explain something to you all. It's a major game changer, okay? Because if they're able to capture $250,000 to $500,000 additional revenue per Wizards of the Coast Magic product times 10 to 12 times in a year, you're talking an additional $5 to $7 million in revenue, assuming this happens once per month in a 12-month calendar year. So number one, I am not a financial advisor. I'm a guy who lives in my parents' basement. I've failed in my career, and I'm a Timmy Taco guy. But for the record, that's a very bullish indicator for Papa Hasbro, their corporate stock, and the direction of everything. Again, if you want advice on the company or the stock or trading on Wall Street, definitely seek a licensed guy, not a failure of a dude in a basement who can't even afford a haircut. But for the record, that is how I believe the data and the revenue is actually going to have the biggest change we've ever seen for Wizards of the Coast. When they report those earnings in the next few quarters, and they report record-shattering revenue increases in year over year, because remember, let me explain, so let's step back for a second. Wall Street and stock prices are all about, they're afraid of fear and uncertainty. They can't stand it. That's like kryptonite. Wall Street and stock prices and earnings are all about future. Forward 12, forward 24, forward 60 months, forward 1 to 5 years. The past is useless. The share price is always baking in between 6 and 18 months in advance, is the historical kind of concept of how share prices work. And if you're a CFA and you're assigned to do research or dig into the paperwork, or you're an analyst looking into quarterly earnings and conference calls, that's what you're going to focus on. You don't care about what kind of set Wizards released 2 years ago. This is further enforcing my theory that products like Jumpstart and different things, they're never going to be corrected. I don't care what Mark Rosewater said a year ago about supply, this and that. It's never going to be corrected. Any supply that's created will be funneled to Amazon and bypassing all LGS stores in the future. So, this leads to a lot of complicated side effects and collateral damage that Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro do not seem to have the long-term focus on. Which brings me to another conversation. This conversation keeps forking off. And I want to kind of stay on target a little bit, but let me explain that. Remember, everybody, board of directors in publicly traded companies and capitalism, one of the biggest weaknesses of the entire concept of equities, Wall Street, and everything involved, one of their biggest weaknesses is that the people assigned to run these high-up ivory tower positions are usually paid out as a base salary in bonuses tied to goals that are hit on a monthly or quarterly or annual basis. And their biggest bonuses when they hit those goals are not paid out in cash. They're paid out in company stock, paid out in equity. They paid out just like Elon Musk. Papa Elon will get hit with, $100 million Tesla stock bonus if he hits his goals. They don't cut him a check for $100 million. He's assigned, or he gets voting rights or option rights or some sort of right to exercise to acquire 100 million shares. One of those situations. So the problem is with capitalism in situations like this is the people working there, they know in the back of their mind they're not going to be working there. Most of those people will not be there in 5, 10, 20 years. So they are incentivized to make bad decisions based on short-term gain at long-term sacrifice. This leads to the downfall of many corporations long-term. Blockbuster, Enron, Sears, Kmart, it's just, you can go on and on, but the point is, that is one of the double-edged things about capitalism. That is the downside that's very difficult to correct. Because as humans, we all have life expectancies. And we all know we're only going to be doing something for so long. Therefore, if you're getting a job for a corporation, it is in your best interest to make the most amount of revenue at any means necessary to bring home the most amount of income for yourself and your family in your future. That's my speech. So, that's a one-take speech. No editing or nothing. That was a pretty good speech, actually. I hope you guys like that one. Tell me what you guys think. Hashtag Rudy's Phyrexian Tower and your stepsister's washing machine. Anybody? Was that a good one? Did you guys like that? I thought it was a pretty good speech. So to swing back around, based on all of this generally accepted kind of common sense approach, kind of the keep it simple, stupid method, or they call it the KISS method. Just keep it simple, as the most simplest means of handling and trying to figure out puzzles and unknown variables and things you're not, informed with companies. Follow the money. So I believe the way Wizards is actually going to achieve this is by a couple prongs. But the number one prong is actually the biggest piece of the fork is actually going to be Wizards fulfilling all future restocks and reprint waves directly with Amazon so that they can capture the secondary market. Or they're only going to fulfill with Amazon on products that they know are going to inflate in value because of either what they did or the supply they chose to do. They have that information because they made those decisions. So I believe when it comes to Modern Horizons collector boxes coming out that are going to be stupidly expensive, Modern Horizons booster boxes, Modern Horizons set boxes, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I understand. I think there should be a Modern Horizons 2 box and a Modern Horizons 2, I guess, collector box. But I really think it should have just been a regular box. And remember, I think a lot of you all lose sight of how far we've come. Remember, 4 years ago, Conspiracy came out, rectangle box. The price was the same, $75 a box at the time. Stores were selling them for $90. Same 36 packs, same rectangle box. Then, of course, what do we have after that? We had also a holiday set. We had Unstable come out. Okay, rectangle box, same shape as Modern Horizons, same $80 price point type thing for stores. It's only recently that the major behavior has shifted. And it needs to be taken very non-lightly. It needs to be taken seriously that we are in a permanent behavior shift cycle. This is a major corporate behavior change with Magic, Wizards, and Hasbro. The way those three triangle of power are approaching Magic, and the way the products and the crossovers and the Pikachus and the Dungeons and Dragons and all these things coming, some will be amazing, some will suck, some will cause anger, some will make a lot of money, whatever. But we all need to understand it's never, ever going back to the way it was. And for that right there is very difficult for myself and a lot of people out there to accept. Okay? So to wrap up this Magic conversation before I jump over here, I want people to understand they are going to continue to raise prices to bring in more revenue. They are going to take all restocks in multiple waves after initial release, starting with Commander Legends collector boxes. Next will be Timespiral boxes, and they're going to do direct to market what I believe to be, Timespiral will probably be between $200 and $250. And they're going to sell they're going to take 10, 20 pallets, throw them on Amazon, and they're going to milk all of it for a higher margin direct to consumer thing and giving the middle finger to the 3,000 stores around the country. I've been saying for a long time this was coming, this was inevitable, and it's going to really just nuclear devastate a lot of the weak-handed stores, especially coming out of a 2020 scenario. Now, let's go to the next thing. Let me explain the other side of the coin. This has parted the sea and bred opportunity for competition to rise up and challenge them. We are seeing tremendous growth and just insane money in Pokemon. It is insane. We're seeing growth in demand across the board in Weiss. I've seen the biggest uptick I've ever seen how long has it been? 3 years? 4 years? In Force the Will trading card game. It's the largest uptick in demand I've seen for new sealed booster boxes and it's insane. The Force the Will has new boxes coming out. I had a pallet. That was the set before. I had 400 boxes, 300, whatever. I couldn't even keep them in stock. Selling them for like $99, which is the highest amount, or $95, the most I've ever sold a new Force the Will set for. And now they've doubled in 60 days. That's how much the world is changing. And don't even get me started on the flesh and blood thing. Again, I blame a lot of this on Wizards' decision. They are allowing the competition to rise up because they're pissing off a lot of people. And they're disenfranchising the stores, the distributors, the collectors, the evil investors. When you disenfranchise and you do that, what do you expect to happen? I mean, I'm in part 3 of this video now. What do you expect to happen? Look how you're treating these people. Look how you're treating the people who buy your products. Look at the things you're saying without saying them. Wizards is so focused on this corporate, bizarre, I guess political or religious. I'm terrible at that stuff. Sorry, I don't know anything about it. Whatever their behavior or beliefs, or I don't know what they're doing, but they're preaching that. But behind the scenes, they are money machine go burr. They have corporate guys, economists, financial dudes, people probably from Wall Street financial bank. I wouldn't be surprised if someone working from Goldman Sachs, and literally employees from JP Morgan, and literally you have guys from all kinds of brokerage firms that have been hired and poached to run and manage this portfolio of products because of the money involved. I'm serious. And I genuinely think if it wasn't for these things happening, Pokemon would have grown, but it would have been slightly different. Flesh and Blood would not have had the clear the sea parted to run as fast as they did. I'm telling you all, the amount of people moving and buying into that are pissed off at new Magic, and they just want old Magic that represents them, and then they want Pokemon, and they want Flesh and Blood and Force of Will. Now they're looking at Digimon, these other card games. The amount of people looking elsewhere for opportunity is the most I've ever seen. And we're going to continue to see the side effects of these decisions. You're going to continue. When you don't restock stores, these 3,000 stores get no Commander Legends collector boxes. And then everybody sees you dumping 10,000 boxes on the open market. I bought some. I went on Amazon and I started placing orders for them. I mean, everyone I know did. Like, literally, once they show up, a message goes viral, and everybody's like, hey, they're there, and everybody just starts buying them until they're gone. Why? Because that's all you can do. At least now I have some so I can do future box openings and things, and I can actually have some for future collecting and investing. But, when you do this, when you treat the backbone of the stores, of the network, and you give them the middle finger, and something else comes along, let me be honest, it's like a toxic relationship. Okay, for those of you young ladies and young men out there who are, maybe you're in your 20s, or you're in college and you're 21 years old, or 25, or even if you're in your 30s, let's say in your 30s and you're in a bad relationship, or a stale relationship, and you're comfortable, you're going along with it. Let me explain something to you about human nature and life and investments. Let me give you a little life preach, everybody. People get very complacent. They get comfortable. But let me tell you what happens when something better comes along. You know how those stories all the time? What was that? Somebody sent me that it was not hilarious, it was terrible. Those message boards on Reddit. There was one called Dead Bedrooms or something. And I remember they sent me a link that Rudy, read this and look what's going on with some people. And that was terrible to read. You have these couples in relationships who are together for years. There's no intimacy, there's no communication. They just exist, and it's like a sad thing. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is exactly how stores and people feel towards Magic. I know it's cheesy sounding, but when something better comes along, you get the typical thing. You know what happens? Folks? It's all of a sudden, oh yeah, hey Sally, yeah, this is Beth. How you doing? Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, you're never gonna believe it. I came home today, and Sam and Creepy Rudy, they were gone. He left me, and I don't know what happened. I don't know. We've been together for years. I don't know what's going on. I didn't see it coming. I saw the stop tape coming. Gave you too soon. And literally people go, I don't know what happened. Let me tell you what happened. You had people who were putting up or accepting a certain thing a certain way, and something better came along. And then all of a sudden, it lined up. The planets aligned. The spark went through. Something happened. And it looks like, I can't believe this happened. What happened? That's exactly what I'm seeing what's happening with Magic. That's exactly what I'm seeing with Pokemon. I'm seeing with Flesh and Blood, Force of Will. I'm seeing it in Weiss, this new Digimon thing. And now I got these other new card games I've been approached with that I'm going to be doing videos on. Some Meta Zoo thing and some other ones. You see what I'm talking about? When you irritate people, but they still love your product, they put up with you. They put up with it. We love Magic. We love the game. We love the history. Okay? But when the other partner in the transaction is treating you poorly, you're putting up with it. It becomes a toxic relationship. And that's how I view Magic and what they're doing and these decisions. And anyone ever who genuinely thinks these Mark Rosewaters and Gavin Verhey, he seems like a nice guy though. These people have your best interest at stake or whatever it is, and these corporations are making things or products then I'm sorry, you deserve to be shit on. You deserve to be taken advantage of because you don't see the world correctly through the correct lens. You see it the way you want to see it, not for the nasty reality that it is. And that is how I see magic and wizards right now. We are in a time where they put on this front and this image and all these things and the community and all this stuff. And it's a pile of shit. See, I can say this stuff, we're late in the video, no one's watching. It's a heaping pile of manipulation and bait and switch. There's a movie in the 90s called Swordfish. I recommend most of you, if you've never heard of it, I recommend you watch it. It's a very confusing, bizarre movie. But it has very interesting principles and philosophical questions that it makes you think about and learn about. And I feel this is a perfect a perfect example of misdirection, where I feel Wizards focuses on this community and this certain public image. But the reality is, I mean, they're treating the card game itself like complete and utter trash. And I feel like you can sense that, you know, between the card quality, the printing, the massive, massive price increases. And it's just, there's a difference between Pokemon and Magic, ladies and gentlemen. Pokemon, there's no Pokemon collector boxes. There's not Pokemon set boxes. New Pokemon Battle Styles comes out soon, another day or so. Booster boxes are what, $160 in the open market? Stores are still paying between what, 80 and 90? You know, depending what distributor and what volume. Nothing's changed. But how come all of a sudden that same new release Pokemon is selling for $160 instead of maybe $120? Because the product's good. Because people enjoy the product. Pokemon is not going out of their way to circumvent and have the intent. If this was illegal, I'm not a legal attorney, lawyer, and everything, but that was one of my things I almost took in college. If I wasn't going finance, I was going to do law. Because I got really fascinated when I took my first couple basic legal courses for business school. And one of the courses when we talked about, it was all about intents in committing in the different torts and different things that were involved with the rule of law and how it's approached. And when behavior and things are taken, it's the behavior itself and the action taken has multiple things, like we say on the internet. Context matters. And someone who runs out in the street and, you know, I don't know, pushes over an old lady, you go, oh my God, what a terrible thing to do. But then, all of a sudden, you see a car that's out of control fly by, and you realize that that person just pushed the old lady, saved her life. Suddenly, you think that person's a hero. But if you didn't know about the car that was about to hit the old lady, you would assume that person's just a mean person hurting somebody. Context matters, and perspective matters. So, I just want to wrap this video up here. I think 30 minutes is enough talking here. I really genuinely believe that this whole Magic and Wizards thing is going to have substantial long-term impacts that we have all yet to fully understand what it's going to mean. Seriously. I believe that we are on the verge of a major market dynamic shift. I think old cards and reserve list continues to go to the moon. I think sealed product across the board, even new sealed product, will still do well. The returns, I'm still surprised. Like War of the Spark and the new sets, even now starting to be Throne of Eldraine, even Throne collector boxes, Ikoria. I'm still surprised that they're growing at the rate they're going. I knew all sealed product as a whole still is going to go up in value and do its thing. But I'm still surprised at the rate of change, the velocity of change. It's still surprising to me. I thought War of the Spark would hit that 110, 120, stay there next year, maybe hit 140, and go up like 20% a year. Obviously, that's not the case. Maybe it's hyperinflation. Maybe it's money machine goes burr, stimmy checks, whatever you want to call it, ladies and gentlemen. But I want to just wrap this video up by telling everybody that the behavior of Wizards is permanently different, and everybody needs to understand that. And just like me, we need to accept that. And I have not fully accepted that. I'm still at arms and back and forth, and there's days of the week where I'm like, God, Wizards irritates me. Screw it, I'm going to dump their new stuff. I go through the same thing, folks. I'm going to skip this one. I'm going to tell the pages I'm not even going to carry this product. We got to make a statement. I do the same thing. I go through the same speeches in my head just like you all do. But at the end of the day, I love the game. I love Magic. And literally my Achilles heel is old Magic cards, the history of Magic. Magic in the 90s is really something that'll never be duplicated again. It's an era of trading cards in history that represent things that I cannot explain to you all if you weren't there, and where you'll ever fully understand what it was like and what it felt like. And a friendly reminder, original Magic in the 90s was built around nerds and losers like me, who were into the cards. Women thought it was stupid and pathetic and you were a loser. The media thought it was evil satanic rituals and you were some crazy underground devil worship. I don't even know the crazy crap they said. Parents and teachers in schools banned them and thought they were evil and toxic. Magic had to be that underground secret thing that you were embarrassed to be a part of. That is the history of this, folks. And today, this whole image about everything in this political environment and the company's mindset, I'm like, what are you talking about? Magic was built on a bunch of people in the 90s that were ridiculed to be a part of it. And now, the fixation of this community and then massively increase prices and massively change everything to be most anti-consumer as possible in the most increase in prices I've ever seen in a couple-year time period. I mean, seriously, in the last 36 months, Magic has had more price increases than almost the 30 years the thing has been around. Or what are we at, 28 years or whatever we're at. Some ridiculous thing here. What are we at, 28 years old? I mean, literally in 25 years, the price increase of Magic is very nil to nothing. In the last 3 years, the price increases are the most insane I've ever seen in my life. And that's my point. The data speaks for itself. You can verbally say anything you want. You can bash me a million times to the moon. I'm used to it, been on YouTube for 5 years. It is what it is, folks. You can disagree or like whatever it is. But this is what's happening. This is the reality. And I think it's shitty. I think it sucks. I really do. And you know what? I'm glad Pokemon is just a monster. I'm glad Flesh and Blood is rising up and just giving the middle finger. Because nothing makes me feel better than to see other card games rise up to the cocky giant who's just milking the public. I mean, $500-$600 Modern Horizon 2 collector boxes? Really? Really? You know, I just... Sometimes, you know, maybe, the little guy really does need to take on the giant. And that's when these other card games come out of nowhere and they get attacked all the way to the bank. And you know what? As Papa Elon says, the most ridiculous outcome and the most unlikely outcome is the most humorous. And the most humorous outcome is probably the most likely outcome to happen. Remember that, folks. Wizards isn't invincible. You make enough bad decisions, it will swing around and get you. Hope you guys learned something today.